Picked the wrong week and quit sniffing glue.
Well, heidi ho, friends and neighbors. It is Monday, it's new model day, and as I teased last week, I don't know what order you're watching these in, but as I teased last week, this week I am working on the Oblivion drone. This is one of the latest offerings from Keith over at Cozmic Scale Models, and it's a beauty. It's a beauty. Now, that comes in two sizes, 1/6 and 1/12. This is the 1/6. It is the larger one. It's about the same size as the 2001 one-man pod, if you want to use your own modeling for reference. I don't have a weighing head here to go as a size guide, but it's about the size of a man's head. And I've been pondering this, you know, and I went back and watched the movie, or watched clips from the movie. I'll have to go back and watch the whole thing again, because I may have missed something. I'll admit that. But I remember it as having more lighting on it than it actually does. Now it has engines, big fiery engines out the back, and it's got that gimbal thing that we're not going to be doing, because the engine part for this is set up as one piece. In the movie, it actually gimbals around. This is a 3D printed kit. It is gorgeously printed. It is suitable for lighting. It is made for. It is wide open. I will tell you that. This is a beautiful piece. We're going to be putting a light behind the center and a light behind this ring here. And we've got two engines at the back. And now I showed a quick rundown of these parts last week, and I'm ready to delve more into them right now on the table. But I'm thinking, here's the thing. This is a model that is, like I said, it's this big. It is that big. Put that next to us, you know, next to your head. It is that big. Could have worn it as a helmet. It seems a shame when you have a model this big that you know, with all the room that's in it for lighting and power, that you still need to run a cord out to a wall. So I'm going to see how much I can do with this as a standalone kit lit with batteries. Now, as I recall, there is one light right up here. There's a red light for his eye. There is the big engines in the back. There's a big one here and two more at the top. And that's really all the lighting that there is. So, you know, we should be able to accomplish this with a couple of 9 volts, even if I have to put two different circuits in here, one for the engine and one for the eye, to save, you know, or to maximize our power. We should be able to do all this. Now, there is a stand. If you look in here, there's a pocket there that Keith has designed in as a solid bit to put a post up through there. I don't think I would like to use that. I think I would like to find an alternate way of displaying this that does not rely on it being in a post. And I remembered that I had one of these, which is a 3-point stand. And I think that we can get away with putting it on the 3-point stand. That way I could cock it at various angles if I'd like to move it around. I can play with it that way. Plus, I got this beautiful plaque from Keith as well. This goes on a stand, but there's no hole in it. There's no pre-drilled hole in it. I don't want to drill a hole in this. This is beautiful like it is. I may want to put a light behind it and, you know, maybe make a lit plinth for it to sit on. But if I use that clear base, I think I can get away without having to drill a hole into this. But let's come down and take a look at the parts, and I wanted to show you a couple of things that I'm thinking of. Okay, now I'm going to step back so I can show you the whole thing. Now, here is the big piece sitting on the base. Now I'm going to have to stress test this. I mean, you can screw these together pretty tight and get this pretty stiff. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape together as much of this model as I can so that we'll have a true estimate of the weight, because I haven't even put the guns on this thing yet, and that's going to increase the weight. And if that happens, I need to sweethearts. Yeah, see, like that. I need to know that this base can handle it. So I think we're gonna stress test it. Now, of course, I could avoid all this trouble by not using the angles and the inner workings there. But we have to, because it's beautiful and it's well done, and we should do it. Because when the drone is flying, it sucks its guns in, and they go right up against the side, just like a one-man pod. But when he gets ready to fight, they extend out, and that way they can do all of the turning and spinning. Well, all of that wonderful mechanism is here, so we're going to do that. But I'm going to try to make allowances in this kit so that I can perhaps put the guns on with a magnet, so that I could have them, both ways, or I can make an access panel that I can remove to get to the batteries or the switches, or to turn it off and on. It would have. I'm not going to fault Keith on this, because this is my idea that I just had right now, and it's a woulda, coulda, shoulda. It would have been real nice if there was an access door put in right here, because if you'll remember in the movie, this access door is removed, and this is where Jack goes in to put the power cell in, and it would have been nice if we had a door. It would have been nice if we had a door that we could remove and hit the power switch right there, just because that's how it worked in the movie. But there are plenty of other opportunities all over this entire kit to make panels that remove, that we can magnetize. Now, Keith also mentions in his instructions these red areas where he would like us to fill it in with resin, clear resin, or canopy glue to make a lens. And I say nay. I say there's no problem that I can't fix with the judicious application of a googly eye. If I can put a googly eye over these areas that require lenses, and I've looked and I've checked, and yes, the larger googly eye will fit over this lens right here, and another googly eye will fit this lens right there, and the smaller googly eyes, I had one here a second ago. I have lost it. Where has my googly eye gone? But the smaller lenses that go on the guns right here, not the gun barrel, but the lens here, that can be covered with a smaller googly eye. Sorry, up here. This is the gun barrel, that's the camera lens, and that can be covered with a smaller googly eye, and I think that's a better solution than trying to use canopy glue or resin, or even that UV resin, because that's an awful wide gap to try to fill. I'm going to go back and check again, because I believe I may have spoken out of turn, and you know how I love to do that. When I say I don't remember, or I say I do remember, that where you see red, I remember those being lit, and that is probably my Mandela effect. I'm remembering something that I thought was true, and because I thought it was true, I'm remembering it that way, and the fact that Morgan Freeman is in the movie. That's also part of the Mandela effect. But I'm going to go and check and double check and make sure that those gun barrel sights, these guys here, were not lit, because I could have sworn they were like laser sighted guns. I'm willing to be wrong, but I'm going to check, because why would I miss the opportunity to add more lights? Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's Tuesday. I keep saying welcome back. I got to break myself of that habit. I'm thinking more and more about this drone, and the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'd like to do with it. However, I am coming to the realization I might not have everything here that I need to do what I'd like to do with it, if that makes any sense. I'm thinking now there's no lights in these guns, but I can make the gun barrels light up when you fire them. That makes sense. I could do that. I could stick a 3mm white bulb in there. Actually, I could fit a 5mm, but the problem with that is the light bleed. This white resin, printed resin, it would be tough to block the light. Now I'm thinking what I could do, it would be to take either a piece of aluminum tubing or brass tubing, probably aluminum since it's thinner, and I am reaching for a piece here. I'll take it. Well, I've got a piece of brass here for an example, but I could put a little piece of brass tubing in there, and that would act as a light block, and I could put a 3mm LED inside there, and that would jacket the bulb so that it would block the light. I could do that. The problem is what I've got on hand. I could do everything. I could do all 4 lights. I could do the 4 guns. I could even have them on 2 separate circuits, but I would be back to doing what I did with the TIE Fighter, which would be manually pew-pewing. And I would kind of like to have a programmed, multi-firing strobe. Would be nice, hit a button and it goes ba-ba-ba-ba-bam, ba-ba-ba-ba-bam. But I don't have anything like that. To get something like that, I might need to contact either Evans or Ralph and have them come up with something that I could hit a button once and it would fire 5 strobes, and then get 2 of those so that I could have left and right guns. I need to check the movie again to see whether when they fired all in unison, or did they fire individual barrels. I think they fired left and right, left in unison and right in unison, but I have to check that. I can start painting. That's something I can do. I can start painting all of these brackets and hinges and stuff. Now they don't hinge and they don't bracket. They're actually just detail that goes straight onto the side. But I could start painting those. This is where I left off. I've got all these glued together, and there's a lot of intricate areas that I would need to get paint in and around. Almost wish I could just dip this thing into a bucket of paint and have it come out that way. There's a lot of detail. Now these were all 4 of these were one single printed piece. I mean, this bracket was one single printed piece. There are 4 pieces there, and those would have been difficult to paint on a good day with all the intricate detailing on them. So I don't know if I can do any justice. I might want to try to hit it with a gray primer on a rattle can, but then maybe go in around it with the airbrush to fill in the gaps. Okay, good news everybody. I've just gotten off the phone with Ralph at Tenna Controls, and we've discussed what it is I would like to do with this drone, and I think he's going to be able to help me out, and pretty quickly, but I don't know how soon. I don't want to press the master when he's working, because you rush a miracle, you get bad miracles, as we all know. But we've talked about what we want this to do. Basically, we're going to have a remote switch so that I don't have to have any physical switches on this. And it will be remote control to turn on the red light up front, which would be this guy, the red light up front, and the engines in the back. Those will all light up once. And then there's going to be another switch to hit that's going to do the machine gun fire. Checking the movie again, they all fire simultaneously. There is no left and right differentiation. So everything is going to go ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bam. So, not knowing exactly how long it's going to take to get that, I'm going to try to paint around and get the guns ready I can get the bulbs soldered and wired and get the side guns ready to accept the board once it comes. But that's about as far as I can go without that. So at least I have a plan of attack now, and I think we're in good shape to get started. All right, we're shutting down for the Tuesday, and I just went through and took some of the black Mission Models primer, and I went over everything that I had sprayed with a Sandoval primer and couldn't quite get into all the gaps. Well, I went in there with the black and there's still maybe some gaps excuse me, that I didn't quite get into, but I've got the majority of them here. Now I will put a dusting of maybe a gunmetal over that. The black here is just to act as the ultimate kind of pre-shading. Hey everybody, it is Wednesday and we are continuing work on the Oblivion drone. Now this black Mission Models primer has had all night to dry, and boy did it come out beautiful. Nice and smooth, lovely. I'm going to start doing some accentuating today. I think what I'd like to do is maybe make masks for these ingrained shapes so that I can paint this outer rim a nice silver. I'm thinking that I also want to put the inserts in the gun barrels and start to light up the, or put the lights in, even if I don't have anything to attach them. I can still get the LEDs soldered, just put a butt ton of wiring out the back of them so that I can trim that off when I get everything closer to going together. And then we have these little pistons here that need to go in here. They're a bright silver, so I think I might want to start dusting this with a metallic, and then I can put those little pistons in. Well, it's still Wednesday. I am doing the thing I like doing best, which is putting lights into things that go pew pew. So what I've done is I've cut some rather long lengths of wiring because I don't know exactly how long I'm going to need it. Well, I'm going to need it forever because it's a model. No, I don't know how long I'm going to need it to be. So while I've got it to spare, I'm certainly going to, and by some miraculous thing, I cut these two random pieces of wire exactly the same length. I'm amazed. Anyway, we're back to putting the lights in the barrels of the guns to simulate the flashes of the bullets, and just as a cool white 3mm, and it kind of goes like this. Now I've since painted these barrels black, and you really don't have to have the light blocking in there, but I'm going to anyway because I'm so enamored of the idea that I want to keep up with it anyway. So I've cut some lengths of brass tubing that I had. I might have gone, if in a perfect world, I might have gone with aluminum tubing, but I had this on hand, and it's the right diameter. So I'm a firm believer in using what you've got. You don't have to run out and buy new stuff every time you're working on a model, for heaven's sakes. Look at what you've got hanging around. Use up. And I am still guessing. Where all of my tools and everything is, because when I rearranged these drawers, I kind of lost track of everything, and I've got looking for my long reamer. And if you've ever looked for a long reamer, it can be painful. So let me see if I can find it. It is not in there. It is not in there. It kind of sticks out, so to speak. There it is. Looking for the reamer, and all this is going to do is take the burrs off the inside of the brass tubing here, because you don't want anything that's going to rip your insulation and possibly short out your wiring. So I'm just doing a little file and give it a nice little how do you do with that. And what I'm going to do is just simply solder on some long wiring onto these guys, cover them with the heat shrink, and sink them down into the end of the gun barrels. And then we'll have them wired at the end, and we'll simply wait for the board to come in. Now I'm also, speaking of waiting for it to warm up a bit outside, because it's getting cold out there these days, kids, and I need to put some white primer on these parts, but I need it to warm up first before I can take them outside. Now I've got the white primer can soaking in some hot water to warm up the paint to get it nice and smooth. I hear tell that Phil's got a new paint shaker for cans of paint. I'm eager to see how that's going to work, to see whether it's something I need to add to my toolbox. Okay, we have the first nicely jacketed light. Now this would be something that would go pow 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 when, you know, on a circuit, but that's the idea. Alrighty, I've got the lights all lighted up. Well, I've got them all soldered up. All I need now is put a little dab of epoxy in there and kind of bury those in place. But I'll try to light them all up here, and you'll see. Well, I'm gonna get. Well, no, I need to test them before I glue them in. So let me find the wire strippers, and I will test them, and I'll be right back. Okay, big doings, big doings. I got the inner recess here sprayed black. I've got the area around the faceplate where that sinks in. That's going to be black. Now there's a white border here. That's maybe 1/4 of an inch, and we're going to bring that back out. I'm not exactly sure how, but we are. So that'll be repainted white, and just along that inside edge. And like I said, we got these done. I am well on the way of masking. I've got the masks designed. I just need to put them on for these shapes, and then we can paint the rest of that silver. Nice metallic color, and that will go inside. Well, that will go here. I've got the other masks made for this side, for those recesses, and those are the ones that will go in here, and they will match the silver that's on the inside of that. So yeah, we're coming along nicely, I think. Okay, kids, it's masking time. Now I've got these inner frames all masked off. This is ready to get some metallic, whether that's silver or chrome, I'm not quite sure yet. This one is also masked off, and this one is masked off. And the thing about these guys is that they are the same size as these guys, but I only need the bottom half, but I do need the top half will fit inside the big ball. So I'm cutting them off like this. I'm just trimming them around the edge. Hopefully you saw that. Trimming around the edge, saving the top half for use at a later time, because they will fit. I would show you right now, but that paint is still wet. So what I'm doing now is I'm just trimming these off by using a very sharp blade, going around the edge and just running it along the edge of the part. And then we'll be ready for some metallic on these. Yes, Phil, I will have a set of these ready for you when you are when you tell me you have gotten to this stage. And Keith, if you would like, I can make these available to you if you'd like to pack them in with the kits. I think they would be a significant time saver for your customers, but that's on you. Just going to quickly finish the last of these, and there we go. Those are all saved on the sheet, and these are now masked and ready for this ring to be painted. So let me mix up a good color of a silver paint. I've got these Vallejo metal colors, I have to decide which one would be the best. I think maybe pale burnt metal. I don't know. I don't want to use chrome, or, well, maybe I do. Maybe I do. I'm just thinking it's such a cliche. But maybe I want to use the chrome. This is the area that I was talking about that uses the top half of the masks. I don't know whether it's worth cutting separate masks for that, or just tell people to use the top half of the piece they just cut off. But that will fit in there quite nicely. That's quite enough done for one day, I think. I got the barrels wired up. I got the chrome masked off and sprayed on this half and this half, and on these, which I think are looking great. Also got them on these tiny pistons. I got the chrome on those, and I got a coat of white on the guns, so we're doing good. One last shot for the evening, and you have, this is what the guns look like in place. Now they're not glued in because I've got a lot more work to do, but that's what they would look like all lit up. Good morning, happy Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend, yay! And work is continuing on the Oblivion drone. Now I've just taken a few moments this morning to work on the face, and a tiny brush and some Molotow to do the chrome bits on the faceplate. Now I may have added more than is actually there, but because I like the little chrome accents, I decided to do it anyway, like on bolt heads and things like that, that may or may not be strictly accurate, but what the heck. Since I put the lighting in the guns yesterday, I think I'd like to go ahead and finish that job by putting the light in his eye, and that's what prompted me to paint that socket so that I can put the red part in, put a bulb behind that, get that ready to go. Now in the movie, there's a plot point where they have set up one of the captured drones as a Trojan horse. And in that particular case, and only on that particular drone, was this part lit. It also had a red light behind it, but really the only reason they did that was so that the viewer could tell, because you're not going to remember that it's a different number. The number on the front is nice, but it's not going to stick in the memory. But seeing a red light there lets the viewer know that this is a different drone. This is a good guy drone. This is not the ones we should be fearing. And when you see them in battle, you need to know, you need to keep them straight as to which is which. Which it reminded me of a similar problem they had on Deep Space Nine, where they had two runabouts, and one was a good runabout and one was a bad runabout for various reasons of the plot. So they had stuck a big roll bar on the front or on the top of the good guy runabout, so that you could, at a moment's glance, spot that was the good guy. So we're not going to do that because A, I think the one red eye is enough, and B, that's all really that Ralph's board is going to be set up for, is that one red light. So we're not going to put a red light over that, but we are going to put a Googly Eye dome over it, just like the rest of these. We're waiting for the Molotow to dry there. I can go ahead and pull out a 5mm red LED to put in behind there. So let's do that. And then we're down to stripping the templates off that we put on yesterday, and seeing the results that we've got underneath, maybe touching up whatever paint we need to touch up. And I want to get these side pieces done today, which includes putting those little pistons on. So we may have to do some cleanup because of all the paint that we've put on there. It might have closed up the holes a little bit. So that's our next bit of work. Hey, here are those plates with the masks off, and you can really see why it makes a difference, because once you get these on here, it's just so much nice and cleaner. Now, it's possible in your travels that you can put a mask down and you might get some paint creeping up underneath it. So now's the time, if you want to touch up any of these black shapes, you can. To me, it's more important
that you be able to spray the silver on, because that's really the only good way to get a consistent good metal coat, is to spray it. You can't really paint on silver or a metallic and have it look really good. At least I can't. So I prefer to spray my metallics. But yeah, even though all the masks are the same size, you may find out that not all of these shapes are the same size. So you might have a gap in here. And all it's up to you to decide, is that so bad, so egregious, so horrible that I must touch it up? Well, since I've got everything out here, and I can, I'm going to. It's just going to take a fine brush, some black paint, some of this black primer, and just, going to tracing around the edge to fill those areas in. And then I'm going to leave those areas black. On these guys, I think I would like to try to hit those with a spray just on the highlights of it. That is like an off black, because I think we're getting too many blacks here, and I'd like to have something that is a lighter black, if that's such a thing. And I think I'm going to try for the Tamiya NATO black, because that's a very dark gray without being exactly black. It's not quite as light as a German gray, but we're going to see how that works. And then we're going to be putting in all those little piston thingies. Yeah, I have to say I'm really liking the NATO black. It's giving me a subtle difference, and I don't know if it's subtle enough, if it's too subtle to be showing up here or not, but I'm just hitting the highlights here, just the flat sides of these gear or hinges, and the flat sides of the front, and all of the black that was still there is receding into the shadows. It's giving me a nice bit of dimension, and it's really showing up nicely against the true black. And it's breaking my eye, which is the important thing. From seeing all the black as strictly monolithic, it's giving me just that little bit of interest that is saying that that's a different black. And I think I'm going to use the same NATO black on the guns as well, to keep them from being completely stark black. Alrighty, I just sprayed a little bit of the NATO black on the guns. They're looking much better. I have pulled these guys out because I'm ready to epoxy them together. Basically what I want to do, put a little dollop of epoxy on the indentations here, and then I'm using the epoxy sculpt as a weight, and I'll just hold that down there, and that'll give nice even disbursement of the weight on both of these. And then we will let that sit for a bit and then come back, and the next thing to do after that is the little pistony things. Okay, while we're waiting for other things to set up, I decided to start the great Googling, the great Google Eye Googling of the faceplate. And there are two ways you can use a Google Eye. Well, there are many ways you can use Google Eye. Let's not be restrictive. But the two main ways is to take a Google Eye, and I'll take a big one here for an example. Here's your Google Eye. You can simply place it down. Well, I guess there's three ways to use a Google Eye now. Dummy. Okay, there are three ways to use a Google Eye. If you are going to paint over it, you don't have to do a thing. You just glue this down onto the surface. If you need the clear crystal out of it, then what you do is you slice very carefully just the black, or just the white background off, and sometimes the glue will give way, and it'll make your life happy and yay and good, and you will say nice things and think nice things. And then sometimes it won't. But here's an example. Now this is using the full, looks like a contact lens. This is the full height of the sidewall. And sometimes you can use it that way. Let me see if I can, pardon the dirty painted finger. That is the full height of the sidewall. That is what I did for this Google Eye here. I wanted to use the full height of the sidewall because it raised it up away from the target a little bit. And then the other way you can use this is to shave off the entire sidewall. And you might have to do this sometimes. I believe I had to do this on my Frankenstein lab when I was trying to make gauge covers. I could not get the sidewalls in. You can either use a tiny pair of scissors, or you can stab yourself repeatedly in the thumb with an X-Acto while you are cutting the side off. I don't really need it right now. Well, let me see, I can use it, so let's go ahead and continue to use this. You can cut the entire side wall off, and that will leave you just the dome. And if you're desperate, you can trim the side. You can trim that dome down if you need to. Of course, you can always lightly sand these edges. I have a sander here with a. I just do this back and forth, and then I've lost it. It has gone pinging. No, there it is. Now it looks even more like a contact lens because it doesn't have any of the sidewall on it. But you use that if your Googly Eye is slightly too big to fit this way, and that is what I had to do on this one. I had to trim the sidewalls off of it so that it would sit inside that it would sit inside the chrome ring that is in the part. So those are the two main ways. Now the guns all need Googly Eyes on them. There are, see, if I wanted to put that one there I could, but I'd have to go back to the film and see if that is appropriate or not. I think, if anything, this one here could use a lens over it, but I will have to check. But you can use some very thin scissors, tiny scissors, and trim those if you need. And then, of course, what you do is you put a little bit of either a canopy glue or microcrystal clear down where you're going to be gluing these, and then you pop them into place and let the clear glue do its thing. Now it's going to take a maddening time. See, even the compressor thinks it's maddening. It's going to take a maddening time for that to dry clear, but it will dry clear. So if you stick with it, it may look cloudy, but it's just because it's trapped air inside it and it's not getting fresh air to it, and it's not drying out as fast as normal glue would. But leave it, come back to it a day later, and you will be surprised. And then, of course, after you're done with that, you can put a coat of the Tamiya clear over top of it if it's still a little bit too cloudy. But I am going to look to see whether or not we need that there. There are some great close-up shots of the front of this face while Jack is doing the sabotaging on the Trojan horse drone that will really show the front of this and show all the detail that you need to see. I kind of like that there. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. I don't even know if it's appropriate, but I'm going to go ahead and glue it down because it looks like this is a speaker here on this, on this guy here. What I'm going to do is put a little bit of very diluted, I took some microcrystal clear, put it out here, and none of this is showing up. Let's get this on camera. There you go. I've got a little bit of microcrystal clear on this piece of balsa wood, and I'm just diluting it with water, getting it nice and runny, and I'm going to apply it to the area with the toothpick. Just run it around, and again I am counting on it drying clear eventually. It's going to dry glossy, so you may want to think about covering the entire area in here if you want it to have that same glossy, because if you don't want it, if you want it to be flat, you're gonna be in a sad shape because microcrystal clear does dry with a gloss. So I am covering this entire, what looks like a speaker, with the microcrystal clear, and then the area that dries inside will be nice and glossy. More importantly, it will have the same consistent finish. So that's all in. We've got a nice crystal here. We're going to pop that just down over top of it. Push it down. You know, that could benefit from having a little weight on it to hold it in place. So what can I do? I don't want to put a piece of tape over that, but I'm going to fill this entire area in. There you go. Okay, so I need something that will sit on top of that. And I'm thinking, if I do this, see, it's got a concave on it. It's defeating the purpose. I need something that's flat. And is this battery going to be enough? I think that battery might be enough to hold it, just to weigh it down. Okay, we're going to let that sit and come back to it perhaps after lunch. Alrighty, I've got the little pistons in. Now, as I suspected, I did need to drill out the holes just a touch because all the built-up paint that I had used on both the piston parts and on the landing gear, or I keep wanting to call it landing gear, the hinge wing extension parts closed up that hole a bit, and you know, it being resin, maybe it wasn't the greatest fit to start with anyway. So I drilled them out a little bit, and I've got the pistons in. Now the trick is, there is no key to these. There's no, I mean, there's a peg that goes in a hole, so traditionally, yes, there is a key, but there's no limiter on it that tells you when you've got it in the right position. So I'm just looking at the instructions here and seeing how steep of an angle these want to be at, and they look to be, you know, just a pretty good 45-degree angle. So here's an example. These are the guys I'm talking about, and it's this angle that I'm worried about. And I think just a good mid-range 45-degree angle is going to be sufficient. So once I've got those all in the right spot, I'm just going to hit them with a drop of CA to lock them in place, and then I can touch up the paint over top of them. Okay, I've got all those pistons in and angled correctly, and I put a dot of the Molotow on the ball end of it to make them even shinier. So this subsection is done. Out in the other room, something you're not seeing is I have got the first coats of the final white, the Arctic white, down on the wings where the guns are. I want to get those down. I'm going to let that set up and harden and cure all night tonight. I'm going to come back tomorrow and we're going to paint the black on those guns, and we're going to install the barrels, and I think that would be a great place to end the week's work. Okay, so we've got the light in the eye there, and you can see this lens is almost completely dried. The microcrystal clear. This one is mostly dry. This one still has a little bit to go, but it is mostly dry, and it will get better as it does, and it will get cleared up. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, the last work day of the week, the last work day on the Oblivion drone for this week, and I've got big doings for today. We're going to be putting the first black on the shell of the guns, the shell of the drone. And I want to tell you, first of all, how utterly tickled and pleased I am, both tickled and pleased by the white finish that I got on the shell. And that is, I have to go get the can, but it is Duplicolor Arctic White, brand new can, shook it up, warmed it up. I took a shut up, you. I took a mug of hot water, as hot as I could run it out of the tap. Filled a cup with it, sunk the can down into the cup so that it warmed up the can of paint. Shook it really well, give it good 2 or 3 minutes of shaky. Brand new can, very clean nozzle, and sprayed two light coats of the white, Arctic white on there, and by gum and by golly, it is a beauty. Now today I am putting the black coating on the guns. I'm starting with a semi-gloss Tamiya black, and then I think I'm going to just dust it with the NATO black because I really liked how the guns turned out yesterday. So I think I'm going to repeat that process on these, but I'm going to start by doing the inside edges. That this is the inside of the gun, and then we'll flip it over after that's dried and do the outside. I'm kind of getting an early start today because I'm going to have my head examined today after the advice of very many friends that said, Lou, you ought to have your head examined. No, actually, I'm getting my eyes checked for new glasses. So those of you who have noticed how horribly banged up and scratched up my glasses are, yes, I've noticed that. Try looking at them from the inside. And so I'm starting that process today, but I want to get a coat of paint on this so that it can be drying while I'm out. Then by the time I come back, I'll be ready to flip it over and do the other side. Okay, you caught me. I got carried away. I had paint coming out so nice and smooth and giving me a good finish that I decided to do the tops as well. I did the bottoms. They sat, by the time I got back to the first one, it was dry enough that I said, okay, well, we're just going to flip this over and do this side too. So we're going to let this dry, and then I'm going to come back to it, and we'll see if it needs any touching up, although I don't think it will. I think the black is a pretty good, even coverage. We're just going to let that dry, and then we'll come back and start building onto that. Okay, I just wanted to do a test fit just to see how it looked. And I'm trying the guns inside the end of the barrels there. And I was deciding whether or not I needed to do that NATO black on here. And I don't think I do. Well, I might just do a highlight here. But I like this contrast here. I don't know how well that's showing up on camera. But there's a nice contrast there between those two finishes that I'm digging. So I think I might do just a dusting on this high spot and on this high spot here, but not go nuts on it. We're back on the faceplate right now, and I have to say 3 things. One, the Solaris lenses, mwah, chef's kiss. They are perfect. Just put a drop of the Solaris in there, hit it with the light, made perfect lenses. I am beyond the moon about that. Secondly, yes, the micro crystal clear did dry completely, and all of this is good and dried and set and yay and happy. That's the second thing. The third thing is I was a bonehead and I put these guys in yesterday, not remembering that I have to clear coat this so that I could put the big numbered decal on there. And that's going to be an issue because I don't want to get any of that clear coat on these clear bubbles. So what do? Well, I'm going to have to put tape over them. Just going to put a little mask over them so that I can go ahead and spray those without getting anything on it. Really, I only have to spray. I can mask off those entire arms because I only have to spray this area here with a clear. Probably just do a Tamiya clear over that just to make it nice and smooth for the decals to go down. Then I'll put a flat back over top of that. But that was a rushed bonehead decision that I wasn't thinking. So let's take care of that. Alrighty, we're back from lunch and the eye examination. I still have the correct number of pupils, which is good news. There'll be new glasses coming in a couple of weeks, so that's something to look out for, literally. And what I'm going to do here is I've noticed there's a couple of spots that I need to hit with the black paint again that have, now that it's dried, have come out a little on the light side. So we're going to give this another coat, and then we're going to get ready to attach the gun barrels to it. Okay, I've got the masks off, and There's just the tiniest bit of touch-up I need to do, and you know, that's to be expected with practically all masking. You have to do a little bit of touch-up. Just gonna tweak that edge right there. Yeah, right here. Now the next thing to do is to go ahead and mount the gun barrels in. I don't know if I am going to subject this to any sort of weathering. I can see where it might need some. It does look awfully factory fresh, but again, that was the goal. So just touching a little bit in that edge where the tape was not quite down inside the groove. Nice. Okay, there's one. Let's see if this one needs anything. Luckily, it seems to be mostly the black that needs to be touched up and not the white, because that might be a little tougher to do. And again, you have this nice big thick panel line to kind of hide your seam. And there's a little bit here. I'm going to make sure I don't touch any wet black paint, because that's the last thing you want to do, is drag a fingerprint through wet black paint into the fresh white paint. Take a deep breath, just touching up that edge. Yeah, great. Oop, one little spot here. Just around this tight bend here where I didn't quite have the tape cut exactly. Lovely. Okay, now we're ready to grab those barrels. Actually, you know, let's see. Before I put the barrels in, I've got one of these done, but I need to go ahead and get the other lens in here. That's going to be easier to do now than the cumbersome barrel. So this was not glued. So let me cut another one of these, and I will get ready to glue both of those. Okay, I'm ready to glue the barrels in, and I feel I can do this quick enough that I can use the 1 minute epoxy on everything. What I'd like to do, or what I'm going to do, because I do what I like, what I'm going to do is, these are mostly in their pockets. I'm just going to squeeze a lot of glue around them, smoosh it into the pocket like that, and then tip both of them up so that they're drying in the right orientation. I'm only going to put the epoxy down around the bottom edge in hopes that it will, this is, for some reason it's not wanting to go here. Here we go. Do this around the bottom part, and then very carefully put it in the, oh, that's what I didn't want to have happen. Perhaps I put too much. Let's put it down in this gully here. I didn't want to have any of it come up around the outside, so we'll do that. Okay, now we'll sit both of them like this. Yeah, I did not want that to happen. Give me something to clean that off. That was a bit excessive. Don't like that. And the last thing I want to do is trap Q-tip hairs on it. Might have to touch that up with some paint. Let that dry. Okay. So that's one. We're going to set this straight up and then let it set and then do the other. Okay, so it's on. Yay. I went with 166. If this didn't work out, I was going to go with 185, but first one seems to lay down just fine. I like the white against the black, very nicely well printed. There are some little green triangles that also go on the face here, but I think they go on other areas. So we're going to wait till the end to put those ones on, but I wanted to go ahead and get this big one on, and then we can hit that with a flat coat to seal it in, perhaps mañana. Alrighty, we got the first set of wires coalesced, and I know I cut them way too long to begin with, but what the heck, I've got plenty of wire. Not hurting up for wire, so go ahead and join those together and ran one lead. This will go into the center of the drone, and then we will put the hingey parts on it. Let's go get the other one and do the same thing to it. Okay, I've got the wires all ready to be joined up. I just hit them with a wee bit of the old solderino. Bake those in. Puff of smoke later and we're done. Now we've got to, let's see, I like to neaten that up a little bit there. Neaten that up. And now we're going to put a bit of shrink tubing over both of those. And then tape it down. So shrink tubing. Shrink tubing. Shrink tubing. Quick, how do you do with a lighter to shrink it? And a little bit of the, my favorite, the aluminum tape. And that's going to hold this joint down, take any stress off of it. And you'll notice I've got this whole thing sitting on top of some pieces of foam, so I don't mess up the nice, lovely finish on the other side. So now when we put the battery up to it, I'm going to unplug the soldering iron, put the battery up to it, and ba-bing, we've got two lights coming out of that side. So the next thing to do is to attach the hinge parts. Let's get rid of the tools that we don't need. Clean that up. Clean this up. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out my workflow here with this new setup, and part of that includes keeping everything really clean. I'm thinking that this, once it comes out of the other side, I'm going to put a heat shrink jacket on it so you don't see orange and white wires, you see a black wire, which will be a whole lot more aesthetically pleasing. That's the last little bit of gluing, well, little bit. It's the last big bit of gluing together for today and for this week. We've got the, I'm careful, I don't want to get anything on that. Hold on. Let me get a clean towel. I don't want to get my grubby fingers over anything. But that is the completed side gun, and it's ready to be attached to the main hull of the ship. Now I'm going to cover this with some heat shrink so we don't have that wire sticking out or calling attention to itself. And I'm going to touch up some of this paint that has the epoxy on it. I need to take care of that. But look at the beauty of that. That's just lovely. There's a loveliness there that I wasn't even expecting. But we got that to go, and we've got this other one ready to go. Now here is the main, look at that, look at that, look at that shine. That's the main body. It's got some things on it that need to be painted in. Like I appreciated these guys, but I'm going to paint them back in. I'm going to paint these guys back in. Maybe put some dirty exhaust around those, because that was prevalent even in the really pristine versions of this. Still had some of that dirt around there. The big thing for next week, of course, is not only putting the circuit in, but also figuring out exactly how those engines are going to be lit. And that's no small feat, and that'll be a good and worthy thing to do next week. But this is still taped off, or else I would put the guns up to the side to show you. But that's an exercise in loveliness. That's what that is. And one last thing is we have the faceplate. Now, the faceplate has got the red light in it. I'll show it off right now. Come on, there you go. There's the red light in the faceplate. That's a thing of beauty and a joy forever. But this decal needs to dry all night, and then tomorrow I need to put a flat coat over top of it to really seal that in before I take the tape off. But then that piece is done.
And that's where we're going to end it on the first week of the Oblivion build. What do you think of this? Yeah, I went and got my hair cut yesterday, and let's just say the gal it was her first time cutting my hair and didn't quite get my instructions. So yeah, that's a little too short. So we won't be asking her back. But we got a lot done on this. Got a lot done, and we got a lot more to do. This is good. I feel like I've gotten a good amount done each day. And it's making good timing. Ralph's board should be here maybe over the weekend, at least by the first of next week. But look, we have two finished guns. And let's see, we stick a light on it. I know I keep doing this for giggles, but let's see. There's the light of the gun. Now those will be rat-a-tat machine guns by the time we're all done. And then this is going to go, like I said, I'm going to hide that wire into the inside of it. But I'm really happy with how this is turning out. Thanks again to Keith for making such a wonderful kit. Cozmic Scale Models, go check them out. There's this size, then there's a half size of this, which is about yay big, which frankly is, probably more practical, but you know me, I don't do practical builds. So until next week, when we'll be back at this drone, we'll be droning on and on next week. So until then, y'all be good, be safe, be smart, get your shopping done. It's Christmas season, and we'll be back here next week.